Ready? Neil from Essex here to tell you a little bit today about my Ferris ISX3300. I am 2 years and 83 hours into owning this machine now, and while we've told you some things about it before when it was new and when this cab got added, we're going to do a little bit of a review today and tell you some of the things that I've learned about this machine in the last 2 years.
Essex, a helping hand with your land.
Before we start on this mower, you should know a little bit about my mower history. I've lived at this property now for about 5 years, and I cut about 2.5 acres worth of grass. In my previous home, I had a 1/3 of an acre lot and had a pretty typical commercial walk-behind mower, right? I'm an equipment dealer. I don't use the normal residential version of anything, but I had a 36-inch commercial walk-behind from Ferris on that property that I used for 10 years. I liked it a lot. Moving here and having a lot more grass, I needed a bigger mower, and initially for me that was a used Hustler, a cheap one that we had in our used inventory that gave me a 72-inch deck with a lot of horsepower out the door for $5,000, and it worked for a little while. But as years go by and opportunities come about from YouTube, things changed a little bit. Curtis came out with this air-conditioned cab here that you see on my Ferris today, and initially this came out for a Kubota, and so my first real new mower here at this home was a Kubota ZD diesel, and that machine we went and dropped the Ferris air-conditioned cab onto. Another 2 years went by and I had a house fire. That machine burned up in the house fire, and Curtis at that point had come out with this cab also for the Ferris machine. And so in order to be able to highlight these units here on YouTube, I followed the product line and picked up the Ferris to drop the air-conditioned cab onto, and that brings us here to where we are today, about the previous 2 years with this machine. Now, first talking about the mowers themselves, there's some notable differences between the Ferris zero-turn mowers and the Kubota diesel that I would have had also. And obviously the biggest one probably is going to be in the power plant, right, in the engine itself. One thing that I totally can tell you from owning both a diesel and a gas machine is that the fuel economy differences for a diesel engine are very, very real. This is a Vanguard EFI engine that produces 40 horsepower. It is a ton of horsepower for a zero-turn mower. And the one thing I really like about that is that enables this machine to mow as fast as about you can stand. I could sit in the seat of this mower, shove the sticks the entire way forward, and the engine will only start to bog a little bit as I'm driving around. It's a very productive mower. It can mow really, really fast. The downside of that is fuel economy. As fast as I'm driving this mower around, my gosh, I'm dumping the fuel into the tank. And I have never made so many trips to the gas station with 5-gallon cans in the back of my car as what I do now. It's a ton of horsepower. It gets the job done really, really quickly, but oh my goodness, is it thirsty. If I compare that to the Kubota ZD that I would have run previously, it easily used at least half the fuel. Granted, it's also 24 horsepower instead of 40. It got the job done in a little bit less time because it wasn't as fast of a machine as what this is, but the operating costs of the Kubota were a lot lower for that reason, for that fuel use alone. The one thing that Ferris does really, really well compared to many of the other lines of zero-turn mowers that we sell, 7 or 8 brands at this point, is suspension. If you look at the geometry and the spring setup on the front of these machines, they have some innovation and some patents out here in the way zero-turn mower suspension is done that is more than just pretty, right? When you look here, you can tell there's something going on, and let me tell you, this stuff is real. This machine legitimately rides better than most of the other machines that we sell. And when I say I could take that 40-horse engine and go full stick and fly across the yard, part of the reason I can do that and not knock my teeth out is because the suspension that's on here really does work. As you're driving quickly, this wheel is able to move up and down with the suspension that's on here, and this linkage here that goes back will take your mower deck and lift it up when your wheel goes down into a hole to try to maintain that even cut. Now, if there's one downside to this suspension, if I go really, really fast and then stop really, really quickly and kind of intentionally bounce the machine, I have seen some waviness in the cut, even to the point that I can scalp in a place or two. So the suspension's not perfect, but it does really make a huge difference in your speed and comfort when running the machine. A lot of the differences I pick up on between zero-turn mowers comes down to feel and how that machine is to run. The sticks in the Ferris are, let's say, a little bit lighter, and the machine itself is also a little bit lighter than the diesel Kubota that I'm coming from. And that allows this one to feel a little bit sharper, a little bit faster, a little bit quicker in the turns than what I have been used to in the past. And I tend to like the feel of this machine a lot. When it comes to raising my mower deck up and down, this machine uses a foot-operated pedal. There is not an electric option on here or a hydraulic option like is done in our Kubota machines. And while that's okay for me, my kids do a fair amount of the mowing around here, and they are not strong enough in order to lift the mower deck up and down. It does take a fair amount of force to push that pedal down, and the motion of reaching down here and pushing it down and pushing the release to the side isn't super hard, but it is if you're not as tall as I am. And so I did appreciate the hydraulic option that we would have had on the Kubota before. This is fairly typical in the industry, but it is a feature that I have missed in this machine. If you haven't discovered ram mounts yet, and they're suction cup mounts, goodness, you need to. When it comes to something like this, you definitely need to have your phone out, right? If I'm out cutting the grass, I need to be able to see what time it is, or my wife sends me text messages to try to get my attention if I'm out in the yard somewhere. And being able to put your phone in a convenient location is really handy. Mowers like this, they have storage pockets on them, but there's not a good place to put your phone that you can actually see it. And so I have a suction cupped ram mount here that I stick up on the front windshield so I can have my phone in a convenient place. Something that's worth adding to this or just about any other tractor you've got. That brings us here to the mower deck and to my one major frustrations that I have with this machine, and that is the scalp wheels down here on the deck. I have been blessed with an unusual amount of stormwater management on this property. I have an excess of swales and drainage ditches and all kinds of things of questionable functionality. And when I have to go through and cut those places, the fact that my scalp wheel here at the end of the deck is not adjustable does cause the end of the deck here to dig in at times and give me, say, a stair step look to my cut because I can't drop this wheel down. This is inconsistent across the product line on how these are done. Some machines are going to have adjustable wheels, some do not, but this one here doesn't and has been a particular frustration, even to the point that I have considered taking this into the shop to have the guys fab up a different solution for me. It gives a less than ideal cut in some cases, and my old Kubota definitely did a better job of it. So those are some of the pros and cons that I've had on the mower itself. And I think I laid out here at the beginning, I'm a retailer for 7 or 8 different lines of zero-turn mowers, and if anybody tells you any one of these things is completely perfect, they're lying to you, right? But it's one of the benefits that we have as a dealership, that if you have particular things that you're looking for in a mower, we're gonna have a product line that probably suits you pretty well, because there's no one out there that does everything perfectly. I give this thing an 8 out of 10, right? It's done really well for me. I have a few things to complain about, but at the end of the day, I've been really pleased with it. Now, moving from the mower, let's talk about this cab a little bit. This is a cab that Curtis would have come out with probably about 4 years ago that gives an option to drop not just an enclosure onto your zero-turn mower, but an air-conditioned enclosure. And there's a lot of things about this that have absolutely changed mowing in this household. I can't quite explain to you how much I've really come to appreciate this thing. I have absolutely horrendous seasonal allergies. I actually went and had surgery for a deviated septum at one point because my sinuses wouldn't clear out. I took all kinds of drugs for the longest time to try to survive through the springtime, and this has really changed mowing for both me and for my kids that suffer from a lot of the same things. By jumping on here and closing up the doors and running the air conditioner here a little bit, it makes mowing in the springtime, particularly when the pollen is bad, so much more tolerable. I can go back into the house and not feel absolutely awful. When you get into the summertime and it's blazing hot outside too, this air conditioner is powerful enough to keep this cab nice and cool even when the sun is shining on it. And so it also takes care of the temperature side of things as well. Now, while the comfort of running this cab has really gotten a lot better, there are a couple of things that maybe I would do a little differently. So the couple things that I don't necessarily care for, these mirrors are dumb. I've never had such a useless feature on a machine before. I understand the idea, right? When you're putting a cab onto a machine like this, be it the Kubota or the Ferris, it doesn't really matter. The cab is basically the same on both of them. You can't realistically see out the back of the machine, right? Because the air conditioner assembly is in the way. This is an attempt to help you see out the back of the machine. they really don't work. And that's for a couple of reasons. They sit right here behind the pillar. And so you've got to look through this to see where the mirror's at. And when you're driving a zero turn around and bouncing all over the place, these are not nearly rigid enough. They will flop out of position almost immediately, or a tree branch will hit them and whack them out of the way. I really should probably just take them off the machine. Another thing here is I've gotten 2 years on this machine. You'll notice that my glass is starting to cloud up a little bit. I do periodically go through and wash the machine and wipe this off, but you can't help but get a little bit of cloudiness here onto the windows and the windshield that does make you feel like you're sitting in a box a little bit, right? It's not glass, it's plexi, and so it is hard not to get a little bit of cloudiness on there. And so it does kind of contribute to that boxy feeling, right? It's not completely transparent. Another potential negative here to the cab enclosure is that it does make the inside of the machine a little harder to keep clean. Now, they definitely go around and put brushes and stuff on all the moving components to do their best to keep the cold air in and the dust out, but you're never gonna do it perfectly on a piece of equipment like this. I also tend to open up the doors and take my pressure washer and try to rinse the inside of the machine out, and that does tend to create more surfaces that dirt is going to stick to, that then requires me to come in and wipe down the windows and stuff manually. So it does keep the dirt and the dust out, but you're not going to look at the inside of a cab like this and assume that it can be as clean as a good pressurized tractor cab can. You're definitely going to end up with dirt infiltrating into the cab enclosure. Another concern that I've had about the cab is how it's wearing 2 years into being on this machine. When we look around here a little bit, you're gonna notice like some of the rubber washers and stuff are starting to crack, and some of the weather stripping is starting to peel off, and some of the places here where, where the gaskets are around the glass, the plexi here, are starting to peel up a little bit. This is something that's kind of common of aftermarket cabs that are added onto tractors, and I would say about this zero turn too. They take that overall machine and they will accelerate its aging in a way, right? A lot of times these add-on products, they don't wear super well. And again, if I'm driving back here and running across some trees and stuff and I'm gonna scrape up the side of this cab, I'm gonna make that machine overall look worse, and it does depreciate the overall machine a little bit more quickly. And if I'm looking at it today and seeing these things 2 years in, what am I gonna look like 10 years in, 15 years in, right? When we're selling good commercial zero-turn mowers like this, these are gonna have a 1,500 to 2,500 hour lifespan, depending on how you take care of the machine. And I'm not quite sure how this cab is gonna hold up over that long haul. Absolutely love it, right? Has changed mowing in this household. I have been super impressed by the experience of owning one of these things, but I do have those handful of concerns. So that's my experience 2 years into owning this machine. Not perfect, very good though. Absolutely super blessed to be in a place to be able to run a piece of equipment like this, and to have vendors who are, supportive of giving us things like this to be able to advertise these products and show them off to you a little bit. So if you're shopping for a piece of equipment and we can help, or if you have parts and service needs for a machine you've already got, give us a call at Messick's. We're available at 800-222-3373 or online at messick's.com. Grass or so.